Hello, friend. Thanks for stopping by. I just put some cookies in the oven for us, so we have some time to kill before those are ready. I figured we could talk about tales of Christmas glory. You know, stories of good and evil, tales of great heroes, proof of Christmas magic. The things that make this time of year so memorable. I couldn't really find any, but there's still a lot of interesting things that happened on Christmas Day, so let's go over a few while we wait for the cookies to bake. Now we're here where it all began. It's pretty self-evident if you've ever been to a Christmas Eve church service. You know the story to death. Some 2,000 years ago in the city of Bethlehem, a wee 8-pound 6 ounces little baby Jesus was born. And there were wise men and an angel, all just kind of hanging around to see this kid. And frankly, the wise men get a lot of crap for the gifts they brought. Sure, gold is still valuable today, but frankincense and myrrh, those are just some incense. But at the time, they were both extremely expensive, possibly more expensive than the gold they brought. And they were heavily associated with religious ceremonies, so really, not as shit as a gift as it seems. I mean, it's no Lego Star Wars AT-AT with motors so it can really walk, but hey, where are you going to find one of those on short notice? Anyways, let's jump forward a little ways and see where we land. And now we find ourselves in Rome in the year 336. This is the first recorded Christmas Mass, taking place only 13 years after Christianity was legalized in Rome. And it's noted that this is really where the December 25th date really comes from, as really there was no direct date in the Bible, and it aligned with the winter solstice, so it all kind of worked out. And I don't think the J-Man would be really upset about when we celebrate his birthday. I think he's just happy we're still doing it some 2,000 years later. But it wasn't just this church service. There was also merrymaking and a great feast in Jesus' honor. But to be honest, Roman food leaves a lot to be desired in comparison to its later Italian counterpart. Like, they don't even have tomatoes and don't even know what pasta is yet. So let's give up some time to try and figure that out. It is now Christmas Day in the year 800. Not too far from where we just were, but a lot of things have changed in the past 500 years. The Roman Empire has split in half and collapsed, leaving Europe in a broken state. Smaller kingdoms popped up all over the place. Many of these kingdoms would come and go, but some carried on to become the new rulers of Europe. But Italians still don't know what tomatoes and pasta are yet, so it's not all that different. But now I'm getting off topic. See that man on his knees behind me? That's Charlemagne, king of the Franks. And today, Christmas 800 AD, he traveled to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, where Pope Leo III would crown Charlemagne Emperor of Rome. And thus the 1,000-year reign of the Holy Roman Empire began. Charlemagne was crowned for his warrior's nature and his strong ties to the Catholic Church, as he was the ruler of the largest kingdom in all of Europe. The Church even saw him as the guardian of the Christian faith. Being the emperor of the largest kingdom in Europe led him to be known as the Father of Europe, as many of the countries that we know today are, well, from the land he once had. Much like how his own kingdom arose from the ashes of Rome's former territory. Now, not all were thrilled with the new Roman Empire, especially the Byzantines, as they still saw themselves as Romans, and were not happy with the cosplaying Frankish king, but that's a tale for another day. Now, the crowning of Charlemagne would start a bit of a trend with crowning people on Christmas, as what proves someone's holy, divine right to rule more than being crowned on the King of Kings' birthday. There are really too many to go over in this video, so let's jump ahead to another important one. The year is now 1066, and Europe, all things considered, has not changed a lot in the past 200 years, as medieval rule was really just kind of reaching its height in popularity as a form of government. Heck, we're here to see one of Charlemagne's great something grandkids, William the Conqueror. Really, the biggest change is now we've left Rome and are now in London, England. And really, just to keep things consistent, Italians still don't know what tomatoes and pasta are yet. But behind me right now, William the Conqueror is being crowned King of England. He did not get this title easily, as when the former King of England died, with no heirs to the throne, England became a power vacuum as people scrambled to take control. The title of king would first go to Harold II, and Harold found himself between a rock and a hard place, as he heard that William the Duke of Normandy was preparing to invade from the south, and Herod III was planning to invade from the north. So nothing could really go right for King Harold. And obviously, Norway did not win the war. It all really came down to the Battle of Hastings, where William and Harold's armies would both fight. Obviously, William wins, as we've already saw him being crowned King of England. But the tapestry you now see behind me was made in honor of William and his conquest of England, and it tells the story of the whole war, and it's 230 feet long. Yet, even after Harold's death at the Battle of Hastings, England was not happy about their new French ruler, and minor rebellions were a constant issue. Though, on Christmas Day, 1066, William would be crowned king in the city of London, and his family would continue to rule England, well, to this day. This has gone down as one of the most important moments in English history, but it's time for us to move on, so let's keep going. The year is now 1492, and Italy has finally discovered pasta and will very soon get introduced to the tomato. It's Christmas Day, and Christopher Columbus is sailing the Santa Maria off the coast of Haiti, when Columbus got tired and decided to go to bed. He then left a helmsman in charge, but he also got tired and decided to go to bed, leaving only a cabin boy in charge. Not knowing how to sail, the cabin boy got the ship stuck on a sandbar. Now, this goes against all kinds of protocol, as a cabin boy should never have been left in charge of the ship. But to be fair, they just spent months sailing across the Atlantic, and they probably did this all the time, as there was nothing to run into. Just kind of forgot about it and, well, figured out that the cabin boy did not know what to do when there was actually land in the way. Now, not sure what to do with the wrecked ship, they took it apart and built a fort out of it. They named it Christmas, as it was the day the ship crashed. I wonder why they never teach this in school. Like, at least when I was a wee kid, they never taught it. The Spanish spent a lot of money on this little Italian man's crazy idea, and he didn't even return with his flagship. But hey, look on the bright side, Italy at least now knows what a tomato is. The year is now 1621, and we're meeting up with the Pilgrims, who just weeks ago celebrated the first Thanksgiving and are now settling in for Christmas. Now, you may be wondering how big their Christmas celebration was, since they were the legendary minds behind Thanksgiving. Well, you'd be wrong. William Bradford, the governor of the Plymouth colony, was pretty much a Grinch about the whole thing. He found Christmas to be too rowdy and noisy, not becoming of a good Christian holiday, so he banned game playing and merrymaking, pretty much told everyone the only celebration they needed was a good day's work. But hey, what can you really expect from a group of people called the Puritans? They pretty much left England because they didn't think the church was going hard enough. I say we leave this depressing place. Sweden, a marvelous country with a rich history like Vikings and a future that involves great things like IKEA and not so great things like Volvo. But on this Christmas day in 1741, Anders Celsius introduced his new temperature scale to the world, the centigrade temperature scale, later renamed the Celsius after him. For the Europeans watching, this is your shout-out, but for my fellow Americans, Celsius measures temperature from freezing to boiling. And so 0 means ice, 100 means you can add your ramen packet now. And really, that's all I have to really say about that, so let's just keep moving. Now we find ourselves at the Delaware River in 1776 for a true American Christmas story. On December 25th, Washington led his troops across the Delaware River to perform a surprise attack against Hessian mercenaries located in New Jersey. All because he had made an assumption that they would be passed out drunk from their Christmas celebration, and well, his assumption was correct. After attacking a bunch of drunk, hungover, sleeping Germans, the Continental Army would get to open their new Christmas gifts, being 1,000 new prisoners and all the cannons, muskets, and gunpowder they could take. These key resources would keep the army going and allow them to fight another day. And I also found out while researching this, you can get Washington crossing the Delaware immortalized as a Funko Pop. I'm not sure why you'd want that or why it's a Target exclusive, but it exists and it can be yours, I guess. So yeah, that just needed to be said. We now find ourselves in Austria in the years 1818, and the first real Christmas carol is about to be sung, Silent Night. Really, this is more of just a footnote in history, but if you think about how big the Christmas music industry has gotten, it all really just began here in Austria in 1818. But now let's really get to A Silent Night to remember. Now we find ourselves in France, in the years 1914, and boy is it noisy out here. We're 5 months into a war that was only supposed to last a few weeks, and both sides were promised to be home by Christmas, and, well, as you can see, that did not come true. World War I was unlike the wars of the past and was far more complex than a lot of people give it credit for. But now we're stuck here in the British trenches hiding from German artillery. Though they do seem to be letting up. Oh, thank God, finally some silence. Wait, is that singing I hear? Here, let's go take a look. This is the Christmas truth of 1914. On December 24th, silence had fallen across the Western Front, and homesickness had definitely kicked in, as the German trenches even set up little Christmas trees, and then they began to sing. The English would respond by singing back. Like I said earlier, everyone had overestimated their new industrial weapons and assumed this war would be over by now. But little did they know, it was really just getting started. And yet, just this once, men of the English and German armies would lay down their arms and find peace in no man's land, where they traded gifts, recovered fallen friends, and played games like soccer. Though you've probably heard this story before, it's kind of the best story of goodwill amongst men on Christmas that there is. Sadly, this was not the end of the war, and high command on both sides would make sure nothing like this ever happened again. But at least for the men in the trenches that day, it must have felt like a real Christmas miracle. Yet, we must keep going. Now we find ourselves at the end of the 20th century, and let's see how things are going. It's Christmas Day in Moscow, and the year is 1991. The Soviet Union has just collapsed. After 69 years of Soviet rule, the Soviet flag would be lowered one last time off the Kremlin, and a Russian flag would go back up. The Cold War was now officially over. And there would never be another one again. Blockhead. It's a Christmas miracle. It's the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Are you here to give us visions of Christmas of the future? No. You fool. You left your cookies in the oven and now your house is on fire. Wait, what? Dear God, my house is on fire. Well, Merry Christmas, I guess. If you would like to help rebuild my house, please like and follow for more. What am I supposed to do? My house is gone.